Good morning. Welcome to NIMSY's third watch party for the docuseries Not the Science Type, brought to you in partnership with 3M. We want to thank 3M for curating such an inspirational series on women in STEM, and we continue to celebrate Women's History Month this morning by highlighting the future of STEM with the film on Gitanjali Rao, an amazing teenager. For those of you joining for the first time, welcome. For those returning participants, welcome back. I am Alexis Constantini. I have been with NIMSY since 2013, first as a teacher participant and now as a coach. I have been teaching for 20 years in the same New York City public high school, which is a pretty rare accomplishment in New York City. I am currently teaching AP Environmental Science, as well as some other elective sciences. When I began working with NIMSY, I was new to teaching AP, and our coaches were so supportive and welcoming and encouraged me to get involved with NIMSY first in the New York City area and then more broadly. I am very grateful for that opportunity to work with other educators, particularly STEM AP teachers, as I'm the only science AP teacher in our school. From across the country and from different demographic areas, it allows me to deepen my teaching and to create a much broader network of teacher participants as well. This morning's watch party is another example of the way that NIMSY reaches out to teachers and helps to deepen their network. Kat Garland and I created the accompanying discussion guide for today's film and to use it in a variety of ways within our classrooms and different content areas. We will look at Gitanjali's story and how we can tie that into many different classrooms and how we can talk about identity and representation in STEM in our classrooms and innovation. And Kat and I made these guides in the idea that they could be used either in a longer period. If you have more than a 45-minute class period, then you can use the discussion guide over the course of a day or day and a half. If you have shorter class periods, like 45 minutes, you would do the video portion and discussion first, and then the activity portion the following day. So we thought very carefully about how we would use these in our own classrooms and hope that you will find them just as useful. I also want to highlight that Gitanjali is a brilliant teenager who sees problems that affect people her age or people that she cares about, and she tries to invent ways to solve these problems. Her desire to help others and curiosity drives her passion. And her story highlights the innovation and identity that is so important in STEM. And also, I would like to highlight that on April 6th, Gitanjali will be joining NIMSY's STEM Family Adventures to speak and answer questions. And there will be registration links available beginning tomorrow for parents and children and other students to participate on April 6th at 7 Eastern or 6 Central. And it will be an exciting opportunity to talk with her and get a lot of questions that we might have about her answered. So I'm looking forward to that as well. During the film or at any time, feel free to use the comment section to ask any questions. And without further ado, Gitanjali's story.
I love doing a lot of different things. One of my favorite things to do in my free time is bake. But I don't know, I'm not really good at it, but that's okay. I also fly gliders, dance Indian classical, I also love playing the piano. I think that's pretty good. Oh, fencing. Finished at that time. My name is Gitanjali Rao. I'm 15 years old and I'm an innovator, scientist, and promoter of STEM. I won the 3M Young Scientist Challenge and I'm Time's Kid of the Year. I am a South Asian girl and you don't really see a lot of females, let alone females of color in the field. And that became very frustrating and very isolating. Just that idea of there's nobody else that looks like me. A lot of times I'm overlooked for my capabilities or I feel undermined just because people don't view me as a scientist or an innovator. People don't think my ideas are valid just because of how I look. And that's not right. This stereotype shouldn't even exist in the first place. We have created this bias standard of what a scientist is. And I'm hoping to really flip that script and change that. A scientist is anybody, and it shouldn't be based on age, race, or gender. I'm excited to be here today with it should be based on our capabilities and our drive and motivation to tackle world problems.
Apply that to the real world. So how can we use science and tech as a catalyst for social change?
My uncle got me the science kit when I was 4 years old for my birthday or Christmas. I can tell you that that is not what I wanted for that birthday. I wanted a Barbie dream house, and I never ended up getting it, and I'm very fortunate for that. I think this science kit allowed me to discover this knack that I had to solve problems, and it was using the means of science and technology. It's always felt right. So my biggest inspiration to solve problems was honestly just to help someone in the world out there. In second grade, I realized that I wanted to combine my love of science with my love of helping people. So I entered a lot of different challenges, and I did that for a couple of years before I applied for the Young Scientist Challenge in 2017. If you ask any of my family members or friends, I'm probably the most competitive person you will ever meet now. But at the time, I was scared of applying something knowing that I would lose. And what I've really done is realize that if I don't try, I'm going to lose regardless.
In the beginning of my final presentation at the event, I talked about a little boy named Opemepo. He's 10 years old and lives in Flint, Michigan. And he has
The Young Scientist Challenge really set up a platform for me to amplify my voice regarding science and technology, as well as all these devices that I've worked towards creating. So to date, I've created about 10 or 11 innovations, and 3 of them are ones that I've created into fully functioning prototypes, and one of them has already been released. I'm continuously solving problems that I have a connection to. One of my favorite devices, and the one that garnered the most recognition after the Young Scientist Challenge, is called Tetanus.
Imagine living day in and day out, drinking contaminated water with dangerous substances like lead.
I heard about the water crisis in Flint, Michigan, and it was absolutely appalling to see how many kids my age were essentially drinking a poison every single day. And it has these carbon nanotube sensors that are built into it that are exposed to the water. This is the interior of it, which is made up of a little microcontroller, as well as a whole circuit, which is essentially able to measure resistance. And that's what identifies the lead, is the higher the lead, the higher the resistance. And it sends all the data to your mobile phone on an app that I created. One of our family friends ended up getting into a car accident in which, when the doctor prescribed medications, he ended up becoming addicted to them. It was just so scary to see all of that go down firsthand. This is Epione, which is a device that helps to diagnose prescription opioid addiction.
Kindly is an anti-cyberbullying service, so basically it uses the latest developments in artificial intelligence, machine learning, natural language understanding and processing to pick out words or phrases that may be considered bullying.
At one point, I didn't think I wanted to innovate anymore. And the reason for that is I was tired of being pushed over to the side just because of the way I look. Our generation is growing up in a place where we're seeing problems that have never existed before. And it's up to us to now realize that innovation is not an option, it's a necessity. You know, one girl cannot solve all of the world's problems. And that's exactly why I'm hoping to solicit new innovators into this world of STEM. All of us can make a difference. It's just about finding that one thing you want to change and changing it. I want to use science to inspire kindness. I cannot see a world filled with positivity and kindness without science involved. Science is a force for good in the world. You can do so much with it, but you can also really find yourself with it. And I think that that's the beauty of science and technology. I want to see a world where people are not judged on their skin color or their gender or how old they are. If you have the drive and passion and motivation to create a difference in society, nothing else matters.
She is truly amazing and inspirational, and I love watching her story. Every time I watch it, I just smile on my face. So the discussion guides that we have created are all similar in structure. They are designed as a way to both discuss and do activities with your class around each of the scientists in the film. So each discussion guide is going to begin with an introduction to the scientists, so you have a little bit of background information on each of these amazing women. And then the discussion guide goes into different pieces. The discussion guide is then divided into the sections before, during, and after. And so they're designed so that the before and during could potentially take 30 to 45 minutes. And then the after would be an activity for another period if you have shorter than a 45-minute class, or about a 45-minute class period. If you have a 60-minute one, you could probably begin one of the activities or do some career exploration in the same period as watching the video and having the discussion. So we began with, on Rao's discussion guide, with some before questions, brainstorming activities to get students thinking about scientists that they might know, and start listing them and brainstorm the scientists whose names they actually can recognize, and who can they think about. And if you are watching this on a screen in which you could make this full screen, it will make it easier to see the discussion guide. So if you want to go ahead and make it full screen, go right ahead. And the brainstorm for this activity has the students thinking about who are the scientists that we know about, how many of them are women, is there a particular race or ethnicity that stands out on the list that they create. And there's several other questions that you could lead the discussion around. And then a interesting histogram in which it compares the amount of people in the United States percentage-wise and how many of those people and what ethnicities they are, and their genders for who actually occupies careers in science and engineering. And it's a really interesting piece to lead the discussion and kick off the film. And then we move into the during the film or during the video section. And during the video, there's two opportunities to stop and pause the film and have a little bit of a discussion, or you can have the students write their thoughts about some of the things that Gitanjali says, that she was tired of being pushed over to the side just because of the way she looked. You can have students write their reactions to that or compare in a time in which that might have happened to them, and how that made them feel. You could also have students share their responses with each other, or you can save that for after the film when you have a full discussion. And then after the video, you can have a discussion around diversity. So students can either write or they can just have a class discussion depending on what you have time for. It's always helpful to have students write a few minutes before they start discussing so they have some ideas to share. Some of the ideas that they might write about are why is innovation important, and why is diversity in STEM important, and how diversity leads to innovation. And you can give some examples. For instance, that airplanes are designed for tall pilots, or automatic soap dispensers can only detect light colored skin. So these are ideas that you can kind of jumpstart the conversation around the importance of diversity during innovation or while innovating. So that would be after the video, and then you can go a little bit further depending on, again, how well your discussion goes. This could be part of the first day, and learn a little bit more about Gitanjali. There's a few links that will tell you a little bit more about her individual story. And then there's also a link about the Flint water crisis in case any of the students are unfamiliar with the Flint water crisis, and how that inspired Gitanjali. There's also some interesting links there for going related to stereotypes and why diversity in STEM matters. And so there's a whole bunch of links that you can have more discussion around diversity in STEM with the students. And then if that wraps up your first period, then that would be kind of the goal, to end with the discussion. And then the next day you can do an activity. And in this case, the activity is around, there's a bunch of different activities that are around engineering that we've given some links to, some examples of some physics and engineering opportunities. So there's a teach engineering, designing shin guards. How does the outcome depend on the makeup of the design team? And there is teach engineering, designing a device to measure a heartbeat. So there's a few opportunities for design, depending on what you're teaching. And there's also a link to a step-up activity for doing some more physics, and also strategies for cultivating teamwork, and cultivating diversity in teamwork. So quite a few activities that you could do in relation to Rao's discussion guide. And then there's the career explorations portion. And NEPRIS is a website that will allow students to do career exploration, and they can learn all kinds of interesting facts about engineering and what kind of school they need to go to for engineering and what kind of jobs they can do for engineering. And they can really search anything that they might be interested in terms of career exploration. And you could focus the discussion or the career exploration specifically around the engineering field for this case, or whatever happens to be their passion, like Gitanjali has followed her passion for helping others. And then we wanted to make sure that we linked to another one of our partners, which is the Ifthen Collection, brought to you by the Lyda Hill Philanthropies. That is a very widespread collection of women in STEM. And there are several more engineers listed here. Dr. Nicole Sharp, Gracie Ermy, Yamali Toussaint Beach, all of which are different engineers. And Yamali is a dancer. So there's a lot of diversity in the ways that engineering can translate into career opportunities. So the Ifthen Collection also allows for a wide range of more women in the STEM field of engineering and other STEM fields as well. It's a great resource to tap into. So just wondering if there are any questions in the comment section, or if anyone has any questions now that we've gone through the whole guide. Okay, and I would love to remind everyone about the April 6th Family STEM Adventure, where you can meet Gitanjali, which is very exciting. I'm sure she's going to be full of wonderful pieces of advice and more stories that will inspire. So I look forward to participating in that as well. So look for the link that will be sent out tomorrow, so you can register for that. And otherwise, have a wonderful Saturday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and thank you for joining us. And again, thank you to 3M for this fantastic partnership.